Welcome back to this channel if you're already following it. If you're new, also welcome. My name is Marcel and I'm covering Chinese tech stocks that are listed in the US, in Hong Kong and elsewhere with a focus on the EV sector. So this time it's again about NIO, which is in the last couple of months having some challenges, right, when it comes to the deliveries. And to be frank, I was very busy during my time in China, so the last 2 months I really didn't track the monthly or weekly deliveries as much. So I've been doing some work now over the weekend and want to give you an update to the question, like, who is NIO losing market share to currently? And maybe we'll find some answers regarding, what's going on in the market and also what's happening with NIO here. So this chart I've prepared comparing BBA, so that's Bencher, Bauma and Audi, the three German competitors in Chinese. The Chinese call them BBA, versus NIO. So why I'm comparing these four companies? First of all, these are only the full electric vehicles. So these are BEVs, battery electric vehicles. So no range extender like Li Auto, no plug-in hybrids, only pure electric cars that are only driven by batteries. So that's the first thing. The second is I'm looking into the segment with price ranges above 350,000 RMB. So most of these vehicles are much more expensive. So this is going into the premium to luxury segment. For example, this includes the BMW 3 Series as an electric cars, including most of the NIO cars. And currently it's not including most of the Tesla cars anymore, since Tesla has made lots of price cuts and is moving down market more into the mass market segment. I'm also not including Li Auto, as I mentioned before, because it's not a full BEV. So this is a comparison bit amongst competitors, really, who's competing to get a share in this new evolving market around electric vehicles for the affluent users, those who like to pay for a premium when it comes to quality, user experience and maybe brand, right? So what do we have here? First of all, we have the sum, which is the yellow line of all of the sales or deliveries of these competitors over a timeline starting from January 2021 till March 2023. By the way, I used one single source for these the different models and different brands here. It might be that this source is not entirely accurate. To be honest, it's not easy to get first-hand data out of China, so don't fully rely on what I'm saying here and take this for granted. There might be something that I'm missing, but I'm doing my work as best as I can, and I'm presenting this data to you and giving you my sense about it. So I hope this is providing you with some value here. So as I mentioned, like, the yellow line is showing the overall market of the monthly premium BEV deliveries above this certain price category that I was showing. And as you can see, this is consistently moving up. So the first thing that we can learn here is actually the premium electric vehicle market is growing still as of today, even within the pandemic, or that was of course in the winter of 2022. Still it had this spike because of course this is the seasonally strong part of the year, but one could have assumed that because COVID and all of the issues with the economy and so on, that maybe this market is having a big issue and people are not buying premium to luxury cars like in this more pricey segment anymore. But this is clearly not the case. So all of these sales are actually growing. But if we look at it, so the leader in the segment has been NIO for quite some while. Which is a pretty big achievement for a Chinese company to compete in this segment with traditional brands like BMW, Audi and Mercedes. And what you can see here, and this is also the caption of this slide, BMW has gained lots of traction. So starting from October, November 2022, but even more so maybe in January, February and March, it seems that BMW has started to outperform against the competitor, which is NIO here in this regard. Audi and Mercedes are not playing a huge role here. Their sales are very low. So actually what we can watch here is really BMW and NIO in this case. And BMW has actually gained traction here and is, in my point of view, here the brand which NIO is losing market share to. So if we look at this also at here, this has been a chart about the market share the sales in absolute numbers, and this now is the market share in percentage. Like if we use those 4 brands as 100% market segment, then you see here visually how NIO, as this light blue color here, is taking the biggest chunk of this segment, but has literally lost market share towards BMW, which is now getting closer to, what is it, almost 40% of the market share here. It had, for some times, it also had this sort of peaks during, what was it, October 2021. So it's maybe not the first time. We need to watch this over a longer period of time, but generally, like the last at least 3 months have been showing a positive trend here for BMW. Now, if we look a little bit deeper, like in which segment are things happening, I've also looked more specific in sedans versus SUV. So as you can see here, the sedan segment for battery electric vehicles in the premium to luxury segment, so in this high-priced segment, is actually quite recent, since March 2022. Of course, you can always say like the Model 3 is the first comer in this tier, but as I mentioned before, since Tesla has cut so much prices and it's not in this segment, so you can get a Tesla Model 3 for 250,000 RMB in China now. Because of that, it's not longer in this segment here. But in general, as you see with the yellow line, this has been a fast-growing segment in China and has just emerged for mostly 1 year. And with that, again, you see that NIO has been starting to take up this segment and building it up until maybe September 2022. And then suddenly BMW comes in here and actually took a large part of the growth of this overall segment. So a large chunk of what you see as a growth here of this sedan segment has been actually coming from BMW and not from NIO. And so this is when last year we saw the issues with the ET7 and also the ET5 was not ready yet and just started to deliver. And now NIO has kind of maintained these deliveries in this segment, and BMW is doing quite well here. In the last 2 months, they have actually also released new sedans in this segment. So this is actually the part where BMW seems to be gaining the most traction against NIO here in the sedan segment, which is interestingly because, of course, the ET5 is a very prominent car here. Now, once again, this is the market share slide to make this visual for NIO versus BMW. Still, NIO is maintaining a huge chunk of this market versus BMW, which is growing here. So once again, this is the sedan segment. Now, what is interesting is the SUV segment, in which we can see, and that's an outlier here, that the yellow line, so the overall market, has been actually in a decline. And the decline has maybe started, latest by December 2022. But of course, this can be explained with the lower price, the lower sales in the first quarter of the year. But generally, if you look at this is relatively flat. So there is not, unlike the sedan segment, there is not a upwards trajectory. And one would wonder, why is the SUV segment, the premium to luxury segment, so the high price segment, doing so bad here? As you can see, also BMW, well, they have some traction in at least in March, overtaking NIO here, whereas NIO is falling off a cliff here in the SUV segment. And again, Audi and Mercedes don't seem to play a big role again. We can largely ignore them. But mainly it's NIO falling off the cliff here from December 2022 and not recovering as well, while BMW seems to be the beneficiary here on the SUV side, but only on a tiny bit because this overall market is still down. So we could assume here that for one, maybe people are not interested in buying SUVs anymore in China. Would they be switching maybe to sedans, or is there some sort of cannibalization going on between sedans and SUVs in the segment? Might be one theory. The other one would be that the economics have gotten so worse that people, like the economy, people are tending towards buying maybe the cheaper sedans here. Yeah, that might be one of the ideas that could be explaining why sedans are gaining traction against the SUVs here. Another explanation would be maybe with the price cuts of Tesla, more people are opting just to get the Model Y instead of going for the premium to luxury segment. However, then of course we also have the price cuts for the Model 3, right? And at the same time the sedan segment is actually doing quite well. So the price cuts don't really seem to explain that. And yeah, when we see that this segment is largely off here during this time, mainly because of NIO, then I think it shows that this whole issue here in this segment has to do something with NIO. So basically one could say that NIO is the market here, and so, you know, they are maintaining the SUV market share. The market overall for SUVs is down, and the market is not growing, mainly because NIO just doesn't have an offering in the market during this time. Because, you know, they have the ES7 and EL7 in German, which is a relatively higher priced SUV, right? But they didn't have anything like the ES6 to sell. Maybe some older models which are being phased out, the NT 1.0 platform models, but most people would actually prefer to not buy them anymore. Whereas for BMW, they have, for example, the iX3, which is priced maybe 450,000 RMB more or less. It's not a super exciting car, to be honest, in my views. And maybe this is only why it can only get a little bit of the share of NIO here, but not really closing the gap and not really, you know, provide any more sales here. And so this is interesting when we see that now the ES6 is going to be launched by NIO, the NT 2.0 platform, and that one is going to be priced below the ES7. So this is the first time that we possibly get an offering for these premium to luxury SUVs in the segment of 350,000 to 450,000. So basically the gap between this BMW model and, well, you know, the lower tier segments in which Tesla is competing with the other cars. So maybe this overall market in the SUV segment is actually down a bit because of the fact that yeah, NIO just didn't have an offering in this area, and that might be one more explanation for it. So what could be the reasons why you know, the numbers are how they are? Is it then a production problem or a demand problem or something like this? Well, I think by this chart we could say that there might actually be the demand for this category, but it's currently not there yet with an offering. And whether or not the issue with the offering is that just simply the ES6 is not out there, or that you know, there might be production issues. Yeah, well, the production issues are not with the ES7, right? The ES7 is actually positioned higher than the going to be ES6 offering. So yeah, I think maybe when the ES6 is being launched, we might actually see that the SUV market segment picks up steam again if we're just looking into this premium and luxury segment. And then we'll also see whether or not you know, the other competitors are going to introduce something else. Because, for example, the BMW traction here is quite interesting because they have been launching, I think it's 3 SUVs in China that are fully battery electric, and it's actually the first time that I see a German company actually, trying to play catch up with some of the Chinese cars there. Now for NIO, we also have the relaunched ET7 coming up, so that might be another boost, although of course this is in the even higher price segment, so let's see if there will be significant sales numbers or not. And then the question is like the ET5 with the hatchback version as well as the normal version, how much traction this can build in the next couple of months when maybe the Chinese economy enters the stronger cycle and also the automotive industry is going into this stronger cycle. So anyways, these are some of the raw data that I've compiled here. I hope that's interesting for you guys to see. Let me know your explanations in the comments below. By the way, I've just posted a Patreon video, another 20 minutes video talking through some key points like what I mentioned in my video yesterday about the emotions and the stock and how this might be at bottom, about Chinese stocks versus US stocks. We had a great news that the Amundi fund managers with 2 trillion assets under management are now divesting from US names and going into China because they like the valuations, because they like the upside of the economy and due to better inflationary data. And so that was an interesting thing to talk about. Also the Taiwan issue. I know many people are worried about these sort of things, and as well other things. So this is kind of the exclusive content that you will get on Patreon. Make sure if you are a patron that you join the $10 tier segment and then follow the link to create an account in the Dongxi network where you will find this information. Anyways, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great end of the weekend and see you in my next video.